Mom, I keep getting in trouble for skating.
You went straight from that to like a federal felony.
Anything's possible? I didn't know what to do, like to rip my shirt.
All right, guys, so we're here today with
Robby Hargreaves.
Robby, the professional skateboarder who is a very, very good skateboard teacher, instructor, and he has an incredible story that he's going to share with us today.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate that. Dude, thank you. I appreciate the introduction. I've been skateboarding for 27, almost 28 years. Been teaching people how to skate for 17 years, coming up on 18 years. And that's really the one thing I love more than skateboarding is sharing that passion and watching it develop in other people and watching them just overcome obstacles and challenges on their skateboard and then kind of using that to overcome obstacles and challenges in life is just really cool. It's really special.
So you've had some challenges in your life.
Yeah, you know, I've definitely gone through my own adversity, you know, created by me, and then adversity that was created by, you know, outside forces. Well, at first, you know, I was born in England, and my dad was in the Air Force, and shortly after being born, I developed a rash on the outside of my left ear. The doctors in England thought it was a rash, so to say, you know, and it eventually started to make my ear kind of protrude and the veins turned black. Luckily, my dad was in the Air Force and my family was in a position to request that we get sent to a hospital that could better treat me or better care for what was essentially unknown. So we moved to Salt Lake City, Utah from Alaska. Hill Air Force Base.
Yeah.
And I was almost immediately told that that was not a rash, but a tumor.
Oh, wow. At 1 year old, you had a tumor.
Yeah, about 1 year old, year and a half. By 2, I was diagnosed with a rare children's multiple tumor cancer called histiocytosis X. About 1 in 250,000 kids born will have it.
Whoa.
It's now been classified as an autoimmune disease. I basically started treatment right away, so chemotherapy, radiation.
Chemotherapy at what age?
I was probably just a little over 2.
Wow. See, my dad's done chemo, and so I know how heavy it is and how hard it is. I can't imagine a 2-year-old doing chemo.
Yeah, I remember some very painful instances where I had a lot of pain in my ear and having to drain fluid out of my ear, and I remember losing my hair. For whatever reason, I made that a fun situation. I found my sister and I said, you know, the doctor said, don't touch your hair, and I found my sister probably 5 minutes later. I'm like, Julie, look, and I'm just pulling my hair out of my scalp, and you know, it was my whole cancer situation. It was obviously tough, but I definitely think as a kid I had a very positive support group around me that made a huge difference, and I think I was very positive about the whole situation. I didn't want to give up. Never give up.
That's right.
As they say, right?
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, exactly. Because life can be hard, it can be heavy, and there's things that people go through.
Yeah.
So where did you start skateboarding? How did that influence things?
So I want to say skateboarding came later on. You know, I battled through, you know, the chemotherapy, the radiation until probably about 5. At 6, I entered remission until 12.
Yeah.
I want to say I was right around 9 or 10 when I started skating, so it was still prior to my last follow-up. Skating was just transportation, man, to and from school. I grew up on Air Force bases, so.
How did you get your first skateboard, though? I mean, it had to come. There's bikes or transportation,
you know,
but for some reason.
I don't know where it came from. I still have my first skateboard. It's an old Veriflex Nash board. I'm not sure. It must have been like a garage sale or something, and
came up somehow, and you ended up on this board.
I had it when I lived in Fairbanks, Alaska, which we moved from Utah to Alaska later on, and yeah, it would not cobblestone, but gravel roads. Couldn't really ride it. So it wasn't until we moved to California in 1999 when then it was like, oh yeah, I can actually ride this to school, and I can do a little bit more than just, you know.
You're like, skateboarding's a thing in California.
Yeah.
Who would have known?
Yeah. Yeah, I know that was a little bit later on, but I know some of the things I went through with, you know, cancer treatment. Those adversities allowed me to thrive with skateboarding because you know, all throughout skateboarding, you got people like, you're too old now, or
Yeah.
get a job, or what are you doing with that toy?
Right.
You know, and I mean, it made me feel happy. So like, why am I gonna let anybody else tell me I'm doing it wrong? Like, heck no, if I'm happy, like, you know, go away.
Right.
So, you know, just saw some friends or some people that I end up becoming friends with. I saw them riding their skateboard to and from school, and then eventually they're like, hey, you know, 5th grade, like, hey, you want to like go and skate in front of the house, you know? And so I would skate with them and just practice ollies. And
yeah, I was gonna say, how did you go from this is just transportation to then like tricks are a thing, and how do we get into doing tricks?
I really think like like if I can remember, mind you, this is 20,
Yeah,
we're talking 20
yeah.
plus years ago.
course.
I think it was like the Tony Hawk pulling the 900 in the X Games.
Really?
That's a very vivid memory for me, like sitting in my friend Kirby's room watching, you know, the X Games,
Yeah.
and just watching him pull that off. I remember like this kind of tingly feeling like of like, whoa, like the stoke, man. That's what it was. Yeah, and so then it was like, okay, like I think I'd probably already had ollies at that point, but then it was like, all right, I want to try and do more, you know, and then the Tony Hawk trick tick videos came out. And so like that was another thing where you're starting to kind of understand like the manipulation of the board, and you know, and then you're overcoming things that like you maybe 2 days ago you couldn't do a 180, and now you can do a 180, and like, okay, what's next?
Yeah,
you know?
it's a huge like, I can do this.
Yeah.
It's a boost.
Yeah.
And it's also amazing, I just gotta point out like how much Tony Hawk has done for skateboarding.
Oh yeah.
Like what? There are so many people that remember that 900. Yeah, it's just incredible. Shout out Tony Hawk.
I want to point out how much you've done for skateboarding, because like you honestly like helped me find my skill set and polish those qualities, and not just me, but I think for a lot of skateboarders, you've actually shown them a script that they could follow to create their own platform, to almost like give them leverage in the skateboarding industry, which is huge. And like I take, you know, I'm not wearing a hat, but I took it off for you today.
Thanks,
no, it's
thanks.
just, yeah, man, you've done a lot too. So I just want to make sure that doesn't go unmentioned.
Yeah, thank you. I
So,
appreciate that.
absolutely.
Well, so tell the whole story. Like you started doing tricks, and then where did it go from there?
Man, there's a couple really vivid memories, like starting to do tricks, starting to ollie, having like, you know, skate sessions out in front of my friend's house, and they're all jumping over the Hot Wheel on the ground, and like I go for it, and I of course smash the Hot Wheel. And
Yes.
So like most of like the rest of 5th grade going into middle school, I'm like the guy who can't ollie a Hot Wheel, and then that motivated me to like, well, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna like, they're doing 180s and shove it's, and I was like, I'm gonna learn how to kickflip, you know, and slowly realized I couldn't stop my body from turning unless I put a little shove it on the board. So then I landed what I thought was a backside flip.
Yeah.
And then I like got stoked. I told my friends, I kind of bragged myself up a little bit, and then
You're like, yeah, I can kickflip.
Yeah,
no
and then I
deal.
showed them, and they're like, oh, that's a varial flip. That's lame. You
No
know?
way.
I know.
Varial flips are not lame.
Not lame, but that was my first flip trick, was a varial flip.
Really?
Thought it was a backside flip. I think I stopped doing it because of peer pressure.
Yeah.
Like, almost immediately as fast as I learned it. So
then how did you get your actual first kickflip?
you know what? I think I was doing like the a kickflip body varial, I guess
I was
is the
gonna
correct
say,
name
a
now.
lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of people go like, they try to do the kickflip and they try to correct things, and they end up with a kickflip body varial flip. Some of my friends did that too.
Yeah, and so kickflip wasn't, I think the kickflip might have been like 4th or 5th, because it was varial flip, kickflip body varial, and then pressure flip became like, you know, late 90s. That I think trick was pretty influential, you know. So 2001, I'm like, all right, I got these pressure flips like pretty good, and then and then kickflip, then heel flip, and then, you know, I think from there I started to understand manipulation of the skateboard a little bit more.
Yeah. Do you remember your first kickflip?
You know what? I do.
Yeah.
So it was when I lived on Vandenberg. It was before I had like a double kicktail board. I was borrowing a friend's, because my first board is just single kicktail.
Yeah, like fishtail style?
Yeah.
Fishboard?
Yeah, and so I want to say it was an Element Featherlight, and I
Yeah.
remember sitting out in front of my friend Tony's house like every night after school, and him and I were just going for it until, I mean, it was dark. There, you know, and I just remember like getting so close. I think it might have been at night, like it was pretty dark out when I landed my first kickflip, and I was just shocked. I ran home. You know, my parents were like, "Where have you been?" Like, I'm like, it doesn't matter. I landed my first.
I'm doing kickflips, Dad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that feeling was incredible. Yeah. Honestly, and there's nothing like reliving that experience watching somebody else do a kickflip.
Yes.
You know, that is such a, I mean, because it brings you back to that feeling of like, oh, I remember that. I just wanted, I didn't know what to do, like to rip my shirt. I didn't know whether to throw my skateboard or, you know, like, or just scream. It was, surreal. Very surreal.
So exciting.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing me back to that. That was a long time ago. I got a couple things I wanted to share. So I've met some people that are like, oh yeah, check out my Instagram. You can see my progression of skateboarding. So I think it's kind of funny because if you check out my Instagram, you can see my regression of skateboarding.
Yeah,
and this right here that I'm holding up, this was like my first, I'm not sure if there's probably no video on here, it's probably just photo, but this was like the first opportunity I had to document stuff. I have Robby killing the park, this is Vandenberg Park, on a floppy disk. I don't even know if we have anywhere
Leave it in the comments below if you have no idea what this is.
You guys know what this is?
No.
You've never seen this before in your entire life?
No. Never.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is my first sponsor me video and footage on here.
That's crazy.
It's a floppy disk. So this was before CDs.
You put that into the computer?
Yeah.
Oh. Dude, I've never seen those.
I think I aged us here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But I never had a sponsor me video on this. This is incredible.
So that was something, I mean, that was just the first thing I was able to like take footage and document, and like it's on a memory card. It's safe.
Yeah.
And then I do have like a cool picture here, me grinding
Wow, look at that.
the rail at Vandenberg Air Force Base Skate Park. I think I'm doing thumbs up or maybe a mixture of both. I'm not really sure.
So good.
But yeah, board slide, all geared up, have my helmet on. This is the article in the newspaper from when I was battling cancer.
Wish comes true for Special Boy.
And so this...
So you did make a wish.
I did make a wish. Yeah, I went to the Make-A-Wish Foundation in Salt Lake City. They granted me my wish. My wish was to fly a helicopter, drive a fire truck, and have lunch with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No way, are you kidding?
Yeah, and
That's
they
so cool.
They made it happen. They gave me that wish. They
awesome.
made that happen for me. And this is my dad and my mom here. That's me in the helicopter.
I just did a Make-A-Wish for some kid.
Yeah,
so cool.
I saw that
Love
actually.
it.
Yeah. But yeah, Make-A-Wish Foundation was great. My mom, she always told me, you know, hang in there. Just hang in there. And I took her literal, and so she would come home from work and she'd ask the babysitter, where's Robby? Oh, he's out back. He's hanging from the monkey bars. And I was like, Mom, I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
So
I'd just
cute.
be hanging from the monkey bars. And one more quick thing, the big parade. So this was a book that the Make-A-Wish Foundation made about my wish day.
This book was created especially for Robby Hargreaves. That's so cool.
And so January 3rd, 1991, that was when I got to make my wish. It just talks about growing up on Hill Air Force Base and being at home and talking about like going to basically like the circus for the day. Grandma and grandpa, everybody was in town. I had all my friends out. Lots of fun, laughter, and it just talks about, you know, I wanted to basically drive a fire truck, and so they actually let me be in the fire truck, and I led a parade through the Air Force Base.
No way.
And I'm just
That's
up on
so
the
cool.
top of the fire truck, which, that's weird. You know, fast forward 20 years later, now I actually jumped over the mayor of Solvang in a parade.
Really?
Yeah, so it's like I still do parades now. So maybe it's a foreshadowing book. Yeah. It's telling me my future. There's the helicopter, so fire truck, helicopter. I haven't even looked at this in a while, so I'm guessing all these circus animals are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. For copyright issues, they couldn't put them in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this was just really cool. Like, I remember having my parents read this to me as a kid. I would always say, read me the parade book, read me the parade book. And it just, it gave me hope, man. It just like, it was very special. Yeah, it just made me feel super special, and I think that's really important. It's like, man, make your kids feel special.
Yeah, completely.
Like, we're all unique people.
Yes.
But we're all similar, and we all go through these certain trials and tribulations. And
that's right.
Yeah, just remembering that we're not alone.
That's right, so important.
Yeah, so growing up on Vandenberg, we didn't have a skate park on the base, so it was really core street skating. We're finding street spots. We're, you know, kind of making wooden ramps. I lived on a cul-de-sac, so that was cool. My street became the skate park for a while.
Nice.
You know, boxes and quarter pipes, kickers and flat bars, like going up one side of the cul-de-sac, so we occupied it. Basically, you know, the skateboarding is really not, it's not welcomed on federal installations.
No?
No. We would run from the military police. I definitely got arrested, I don't know, probably at least 10 times growing up, yeah.
And you get tickets, your parents would get called?
No tickets. I would get in trouble twice. It was awful. So I would get in trouble by the military police. They would take us to the hub. My parents would come and pick us up. You know, my dad would basically get upset with me. I'd get in trouble 3 times, actually. And then my dad would go to work, and his first sergeant would be like, yo, what's up? Your kid's skating at headquarters. Why is he doing that? He's destroying government property, which is a federal offense. Yeah. So it's a felony.
I love how extreme it gets. Like, here's this thing that can help your kid in all the different facets, and it went straight from that to like a federal felony.
Yeah, like, yeah, your kid is like, he's a criminal. Like, but I guess that just goes to show like how certain people can view skateboarding in one light, and some people, it's just like this loud, obtruse thing that's like super,
get it away from me.
And it's really funny how, like, if I'm not bothering you, you know, if it's the noise that's bothering you, like, I mean, you could probably go a little bit further away. You know,
or just tell me it's okay.
Yeah,
we don't need to turn it into a federal felony.
Yeah, we don't need a federal offense. I had to go to court for skating a plastic barricade at the skate park that they realized I took from the parking lot. What told me it was theft and destruction of federal property, which was 2 felonies. And I was like 16. I'm like, this is crazy, this thing. But I understand the concept of it now, looking back. Like, it wasn't mine to take. But I felt a little bit extreme. You know, it kind of put me on the like opposite end of I think the positivity of skateboarding. And it was just this negative light. You know? But we were kind of running from the military police, and you know.
And at first there was no skate park, so you have your friends you're skating around, and then how did it grow into this thing?
I would say I was a pretty aware kid of my surroundings, and I would always hear my mom, you know, at year-end closeout talking about, you know, one of the Air Force bases sending a large amount of money to Vandenberg because we're the largest base in the country, and they would be like, hey, here's this money, and my mom's like, oh, now we got to buy everybody new furniture again. And I'm like, Mom, I keep getting in trouble for skating. Why don't we get a skate park built? So my mom was the budget analyst for Vandenberg, so she oversaw all the financing. She put me in direct connection with the 30th Space Wing Commander, Commander Worley.
Shout out 30th Space Wing Commander, let's go.
Yeah, so he got me and all my friends together. We built a committee for a skate park. We got the largest cement skate park on a federal installation in mainland U.S. built.
Wow.
It's been there for 23 years.
Still there.
Still there.
That is amazing.
So
well done.
Yeah, thanks, man. I was, I want to say 13 or 14 when I did that.
Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
You know, so that totally kicked off like, oh, anything's possible? With the right mindset and the right attitude and the right team. Like, you got to have the right team of people around you.
Completely.
So, yeah, so that was, that really took skateboarding to a whole new level, because now we had this facility with all these obstacles that were created for the skaters that skated. I was there from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., man, open to close, you know, sometimes afterwards. Yeah, it had lights, and we bypassed the timer. We were pretty smart kids, and so we hooked it up, so it was basically you just turn the light switch on. 11 o'clock at night, you know, we're skating the park, and here comes the police again, you know, so.
Oh, yeah,
it was all, we're dealing with them again.
Now we're getting in trouble at the park. But your progression must have like skyrocketed.
Totally.
You're skating every day.
Every
you got
day.
a park, friends around you.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
14, I got my first 2 sponsors. Filmed my own sponsor me video. Basically, just set the camera up on the ground.
Yeah.
And then like checked to make sure I was in frame, and then pressed record and took that camcorder footage, and I took it home, plugged the camcorder into the VCR, plugged the VCR into the TV, watched the footage back on the TV, and then what I wanted to capture, I had to hit record.
Yeah.
And
if you've never edited on a VCR, if you don't even know what a VCR is,
yeah, you know,
that's how I used to edit too.
I challenge you guys, go get yourself a VCR if you can find one from a thrift store, and see if you can edit a video that way.
That is a great,
you know,
that is a great video idea.
I'll
How to
send you
edit
guys a
with a
skateboard. I'll send you a skateboard.
None of this cat cup. You guys don't know how good you have it now.
Yeah, I had some friends that were able to put like music to a video like that, and I never quite figured that part out, but I'm guessing it would have just been an auxiliary cord into the VCR.
Yeah.
So that was like the first sponsor me video. I took it into the skate shop, White Sands. The guy was so stoked that he's like, wait, you filmed this yourself and you edited it on a VCR? Like what? Like this was before I think anybody, I mean, there's people doing it, but not 14-year-old kids.
Yeah.
So,
so he hooked you up.
Yeah, he hooked me up, and then I also got sponsored by Confiscated Skateboards the same day. So
wow.
That was a brand that the skate shop owned, which was pretty interesting to have a skate shop owning a skateboard company. I think they annexed it later on, but Confiscated Skateboards.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so I was, getting 4 boards a month at 14. And I swear every kid on the base had a Robby hand-me-down at one point.
Yeah.
Because I'm just going through boards, like progressing at a crazy level.
And 4 boards a month is really good.
Yeah. Yeah, there was, I think there's probably a lot of sponsored kids now that don't get that, you know? And so I was super blessed. I was very talented. I was in a really kind of good position to pursue my dreams.
Yeah.
And I had, my mom supported me with getting a skate park. I had my dad, he was a support. He would drive me to all the castle contests growing up. And, he was my football coach before skateboarding. And then when I quit playing football, he was definitely my #1 supporter in skateboarding. So that's
awesome.
That was a huge, huge benefit,
Nice. So then where did it go from there?
From there, I did kind of keep pursuing skateboarding, going into high school, kind of changing shop sponsors a couple times. Surf Connection, shout out Surf Connection. They're still around in Lompoc, California, where I'm from. Those guys are great. There's, I have good friends with the owner, and he actually just purchased the shop from his mom, Robin, and she was the one that I rode for.
Nice.
One Way Board Shop, Dan Pankratz, he was a big inspiration. Actually, the first skate shop I ever went into, even before White Sands, I went into his skate shop to get some shoes, but he had like all the really good skaters, and White Sands didn't necessarily have a good team, so I was like, I'll settle for White Sands at this moment.
Yeah.
But Dan created such an amazing experience where that later on translated for me like why I own a skate shop, and we'll get to that. Surf Connection, they were a big part of kind of high school. Then when I started riding for One Way Board Shop, I ended up getting a sponsor with Foundation Skateboards, Tamieto, Rep Flow, was doing some stuff with them. Ended up moving down to San Diego for a little bit. I grew up on an Air Force base. This is some pretext, so it was like Pleasantville. I didn't really grow up with seeing gangs or drug problems, or other than some rebel kids on their skateboards destroying federal property. That was probably the most difficult thing I dealt with growing up. So then when I moved to San Diego and that kind of shelter was removed, there was definitely Culture shock, and that hit me a little bit different than maybe some people who grew up around that, and peer pressure to alcohol abuse and drug addiction kind of played a part in my late teen to 20s into my mid 20s, and kind of pulled me away from skateboarding, unfortunately, because now being back and being sober, putting putting my aspirations first, but doing that with the mindset of, you know, other people win if I fight well too. So
Yeah.
when I moved to San Diego, I was living with Neil Headings. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Neil or if anybody watching is familiar with Neil, but go ahead and you could Google Neil Headings. He pro skater for Creature and Vans. There was a very controversial thing that happened with him in the mid-90s. When I met Neil, he had just been released from prison, and so I think that kind of played a little bit of a part of kind of getting involved with some of the, we'll call it the darker side of skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know, there's a positive culture and there's a negative culture. My job isn't to separate the both or separate one from the other, but I can highlight one. I think that really kind of allowed me to think that I could drink and party and smoke. There would be little repercussion and I could still pursue my dreams at the level I could if I was sober, which that's not true. You know, that's not true.
Tell us
at all.
everything.
Yeah, man. You know, so, you know,
I think that's an important message, because there are people out there right now who will think, oh, I can do this and there's no repercussions, and it is not true.
It's not true. I mean, everything has a repercussion. I was taking this thing, I would call it now calculated risks. Like, what is the damage? Assess that damage, and is it a damage that I can bounce back from?
Right.
And, you know, when you're 22, you think, you know, hey, I'm 22, I can do this, I can do that, and
I'm invincible.
And, you know, now I'm 37, and I'm like, man, I wish those 8 years of my life I could have back, because I would be in a different position now. I'm not saying I would be a different person. I think that deviation is part of the plan ultimately, because now I'm a stronger person. I can share the knowledge that I've learned and gained.
Yeah, learning experience.
And, you know, it's a hard thing though, because like I know that I was my own worst enemy. I was my own roadblock, but then I was taking that inward angst. I was portraying that on the world. I was putting that outward, so I had outward aggression or anger towards other people, like my family, my dad, my mom, my sister, my brother, who were like my biggest supporters, my biggest fans. You
really?
know? Yeah.
You think that was part of the substance?
I think, because they were wanting me to be my best self. And, and I was like, well, this is fine. I can do this right now. And
were they saying like, Robby,
because they could see. I mean, obviously the people close to you can see, what's up, buddy? I think I wanted to feel like I had it all figured out. Yeah. You know, so I think me living in San Diego was a way of me distancing myself from them. Yeah. So that way I could live the skateboard life, but then I could also act like I was hiding from, you know, the things that were hurting me and ultimately hurting the relationships with my family. Wow. And friends. And then ultimately, you know, that's what took me away from skateboarding, you know, getting 2 DUIs and...
Explain that, and then explain like how it took you away from skateboarding exactly, and then at some point you must have realized, oh, this is not the way.
Because I wanted to pursue skateboarding, but then I was having to work jobs that were outside of skateboarding, and then that money that I was making, I should have been saving to use later to pursue skateboarding to its fullest, right? Or to the fullest that I could. Yeah. But then I was taking the money I was making and I was just spending it on things like, you know, alcohol and drugs, and I was not moving myself in a direction to be a positive member of society or to even be positive for myself or my family. And so I think, you know, the financial burden of like not being able to like move yourself the direction you want to go. Yeah. I think that began to build that burden more, which then creates more alcohol abuse and more substance abuse, you know.
Scary, dwindling spiral.
It's a dwindling spiral, and it was really challenging time for me. It almost feels like now, because I'm removed from that, you know, it's always gonna be there, that the pressure, and I'm not the pressure, but like that feeling of like, oh yeah, you know, one drink, you know, but that's where it started. It was like, yeah, it just started with one beer with some friends, you know, and it's like that, I don't know, that endorphin release of the good time I had, you know, and I know now that I have an addictive personality, so I have to be mindful of the things that I'm like, social media, if I'm on Instagram too much, like
Yeah.
I can feel it, and
Yes.
like that's another, like it's a substance abuse almost, right? It's
Yeah.
like a very similar feeling.
Yeah.
So
Gotta channel it into skateboarding, a positive.
yeah, positive. Yeah, absolutely. And so the way I've really done that is by channeling a lot of my energy into other people. That helps me be better for myself, because I can only help other people if I can help myself first.
Right.
So, that's really what got me into teaching people how to skateboard, and really just eventually like just dove like head first into it, and realized I could do that to make some money that I could use to funnel into my dreams or aspirations of skateboarding.
So at one point were you like, oh, this drinking and the substance abuse is not helping my skateboarding, I'm gonna go to do something else? And then how did
I would
that
say
progress?
at one point I realized, but it took me like 100 points to actually make that decision to like change.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally.
And
can be
it was
difficult.
like losing close friends, like who just didn't want to associate with me, or just knowing that I was hurting family members, my parents, who, from a young kid, like they literally would have done anything for me at that moment when I had cancer, and they were like holding themselves accountable,
Really?
and for when I had cancer, because like that's kind of cancer remorse. It is something that they've done some research on,
That is
but like
so
parents kind of hold themselves guilty.
Of
Like,
course.
what did I do to bring this kid who has to suffer? It wasn't even until I was in my 30s when I had the conversation with my parents about, like, I want you to know that I don't hold you accountable, and like I want you to like let that go, and just understand that like I'm here now, gone through everything, and I'm good, I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm prospering.
Yeah.
I'm making a difference in the world, not just for myself, but for others.
Yeah.
They're still my biggest fans, my biggest supporters.
It's awesome.
That was it was just a really hard time, man, going through that. I ended up having to move back home from San Diego. I lost my sponsorship with Foundation. It kind of almost like put flame on the fire, or fuel on the fire, I should say.
Yes.
And then moving back home, then I'm like at my parents' house in my mid-20s, not where I want to be. I lost my dream sponsor. Then I'm trying to like kind of navigate through the world, but like kind of hiding my substance abuse or drug or alcohol addiction from my parents. Yeah, it was just, it was this weird cycle where it's like, okay, I see it, but it was like never making that turn. I guess when you're like, I'm never doing that again, like never's a big word.
Yes.
And something that really helped me finally get away from that was like, I'm not going to do that today. And then tomorrow, I'm not going to do that today.
Right.
And then tomorrow, and then it was just
Yeah, because you
every
can
day
say,
is
I'm
day
never
one.
doing that, and then you do it, and then it weighs even heavier on you, because you're like, I decided not to do this, and then I did, and it's tough.
Also coming to a realization that I am not perfect.
Right.
I will never be perfect. I'm going to make mistakes, and that's fine. I'm only human. I'm created in his image, and that's what I believe. Maybe other people have different beliefs, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Also like sometimes feeling the cast of judgment from others on me.
Right.
That judgment, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine. If you're catching judgment from other people, I had to get to a point where it's like, you know what? That judgment is fine. I am not here to judge them on that judgment. I'm here to love them anyways.
That's right.
And once you begin to like operate from that point of view, you begin to forgive yourself for your mistakes. You understand that, you're judging yourself more critical than you would judge anybody else. And
Always.
yeah, and
You're
so,
always going to be your own harshest enemy.
So I think that was a big turning point, is just realizing like, hey, I'm only human, and I know the mistakes I've made have been made by probably billions of people, all throughout history. Like I'm sure billions of people. So I'm not any different, and the more I talk about my story, the more I share my story, not only the stronger I become, but the stronger I become to help other people. The stronger they become, the stronger we become. Like, the more elevated maybe I could help society. I think we're kind of in this chaotic teenage stage in society, and maybe we can start to become like a little bit more mature 20-year-olds or maybe mature 30-year-olds. So I don't know. It's just given me a new hope for life.
Right.
Man.
Okay, so then skateboarding helped you through that, and then where did it progress from there?
mean, it did get to a point where I'm like, okay, I'm like still wanting to skate. I started, working for One Way Board Shop, running the skate lesson program. It just wasn't really making enough money for me to like kind of start to progress into, older 20, young 30s.
Yeah.
So I got into carpentry. I was building houses. It was good money, but it was still kind of a problematic industry for me. A lot of kind of old time way of doing business.
Yes.
The carpentry industry is tough. You're working with a lot of like kind of disgruntled 50-year-old guys who I'm kind of an emotional person, and that's kind of looked at as like being weak. I'm like, well, no, I think I'm strong because I'm like showing you my softer side.
Yeah.
Willingly. Accepting the punishment. But yeah, so built houses for a while, and then in 2020, actually the day after Kobe Bryant passed away, I shattered my clavicle, or the day before Kobe Bryant passed away, I shattered my clavicle snowboarding. Couldn't skateboard, obviously.
Yeah.
I had to get surgery, couldn't work. I was on disability, and I was not making very good money at all. And so I honestly decided to I was gonna like part ways with skateboarding. I was gonna put my skateboard up. I was gonna focus more on not being so like I don't know, like I extreme, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Because that's just my natural instinct. I like doing things with my body outside, moving around. And, so I was like, all right, maybe don't snowboard, maybe, put the skateboard up, don't get hurt.
Yeah, you got hurt, and it's so tough.
Yeah.
Pushing through those injuries is so tough.
Yeah. But then during that recovery, I ran into somebody that we all know now, and that person kind of redirected my mind and my energy, and he introduced me to somebody that you know well, and then the next thing I know, I ended up, I was working at the Braille house running the skate lesson program, and it redefined my love and my passion of skateboarding, and it made me like go, oh my gosh, this is like all the beautiful things that I can have if I like really focus my energy and my attention in the right direction. Yeah, and that person was Andy Anderson.
Yeah.
Like, oddly enough, like I randomly crossed paths with him in a hotel in Oceanside. I was walking up the stairs, and he was walking down the stairs, and it was like we caught eyes, and we had known each other from previous contests, and we were both just as shocked to see each other, and we had like a 3-hour conversation that night about like where I was, what I was going through. I was still like, it took some years to like kind of really kick some of this previous issues that I was having, but Andy really highlighted some of that stuff for me. He kind of put it into some context.
Wow.
And he ended up like coming up to visit me, and then the COVID lockdown happened, and then he lived at my house for 4 months.
Yeah.
I think he filmed some games of skate in my garage during COVID.
Like,
It totally...
I think that's when I first met you.
Yeah.
It was like we were doing live games of skate. Andy was doing games of skate and maybe even some lessons as well.
Yeah.
And then he was like, yeah, I'm staying at Robby's house.
Yeah.
And then I don't remember how it went from that to the lessons.
I think when he moved, because this was all like, they canceled the Olympics.
Yes.
Andy's living at the house. He's doing some stuff. I'm like, oh, dude, what? Like, that's Gabe Cruz. Like, they're doing games of skate. And I'm just like, I've heard of Braille. Like, I know about those guys. And like, I'm like sitting in the garage, like coming home from work, like, just like, just like looking in the camera, trying, and like Gabe's like, who is that guy, And so I'm just like in the background,
Yeah.
When Andy moved out, because then the Olympics got postponed, they're like, all right, it's next summer. Andy's like, cool, I can travel back to Canada. I'm going home.
Yes.
Literally like 2 days after Andy left, I get a call from Devin Weber.
Yes.
And she, told me, hey, Andy Anderson told me about you. We'd like to, offer you a job working for Braille, running the skate lesson program. I was taken back. I was like, wait, what? Like, Andy knew my struggle of what I was going through. It was like, I don't want to build houses all my life. Like, I want to do something I'm passionate about. I understand like the error in my ways, and I think I could do a better job now. And Andy, he introduced me to Devin, and Devin had me come up, and I met you, and that was like a very huge, pivotal moment in my life, in my skateboarding journey. I didn't see, 5 years from that, 4 years from that day, like being in this position now.
And you taught so many people tricks.
I was grinding it,
so
man.
many people how to skateboard.
When I came in the middle of COVID, we had one virtual student a week.
Yeah.
Jono. I hope he's still skating. I got to reach out to Jono Davis, I believe. But yeah, he was my first student, virtual through Zoom. And I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna make this work.
Yeah.
When I parted ways with Braille, I had 100 clients a month.
It's crazy. It's so cool.
Yeah, some of those students have actually gone, and some of them are currently making a name for themselves in skateboarding.
Wow.
A couple kids, they got some, sponsored by Vans, Skeleton Key. One of them, he's got Bane, Bane Von Shredder. Yeah, he's got that big vert ramp in his backyard.
So sick.
Like, seeing the evolution of JD from, I want to say an 11-year-old to now, 16?
Yeah. I think I taught him his first frontside 180 when he was 6.
I just recently saw that video. When he was just like the little kid at the skate park, and you're like, hey, what's up?
And now he's doing triple flip indie.
I saw, so crazy.
So cool.
Yeah, and that kind of support though that Danny gives JD.
Yeah, that's
that
right.
is so man.
His dad is 100% support. It's really amazing.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
I encourage any parents watching this video, if your kid has a passion, whether it's skateboarding, basketball, football, do whatever you can to help them out. Help them make their dreams come true. Cause
foster it.
Yeah, I mean, they can make or break the dreams, right?
Completely.
And I would always say, kids come in, I'm leaving, but they're like, hey, we want to do a tour of the Braille house. I know I probably should have called you first, but
no, it doesn't matter. I do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, my job's not to break dreams. My job's to make dreams.
Yeah.
So, let's go. I'll give you a tour around the Braille house. You want to stand on the nail board?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. But
you can either make them feel
first.
better, or you can make them feel worse.
Yeah.
In all things that you do, your communication, what you're saying, what you're doing is either making people, bringing them up and making them feel better, or making them feel worse.
Yeah.
So if you can do something to change their life for the better, you got to do it.
Yeah, just being around the guys, the team, that was everything I wanted when I was 18, 19.
Yeah.
And I wasn't the best skateboarder. I was passionate, but there's this weird passion and love for something only gets you so far. And that's where discipline comes in.
Raw talent and discipline.
Raw talent. So
I actually don't even believe in raw talent. I actually believe that it is discipline and hardcore work ethic.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning that now. As a business owner, it's the discipline of being consistent every day. Yeah, it sucks, 5:30, but, get up. 4:30, get up, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Get that out of the way. Then the rest of the day is a little bit easier.
Yes.
But, it's the consistency that's really important. I think there was maybe two weeks out of the 3 years that I worked at Braille that I took off.
Yeah.
I was there every week, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, some Tuesdays, but every Sunday, man, I was out there grinding out. I was treating it like an hourly job. I know.
Teaching these guys lessons, teaching them how to do tricks.
I wish I would have documented some of the, my journey. I would wake up at 3 in the morning in Venice Beach. I would leave Venice Beach, 5-hour drive up the 5. I would get to San Leandro, open the warehouse at 8 o'clock, and then I would teach 12 hours straight.
Yes.
No lunch, no break. You guys thought I was insane. And I'm like, I'm doing the things I love, man. You guys are crazy. But yeah, obviously.
Robby, you need to eat lunch. Robby, lunch is important. Take
I'm surprised
care of yourself,
my hair
please.
didn't fall out. Yeah, no. That is the work ethic I've always had since I was a kid. That's the same work ethic I put in to skateboarding in the beginning.
Yeah.
And had I not been deviated myself, I would have been able to put 8 years of that work ethic into achieving my dreams and goals. And, age isn't going to stop me now.
Yeah.
I'm back on my path, and I'm making it happen.
Yeah, and you should talk about your skate shop.
Yeah.
So
Solving Skate Shop, man. And that's all thanks to you. You allowed me the opportunity to, polish the things that I was good at, the positive qualities that I have. I was able to make and save the money that I was making from teaching to buy an existing skate shop.
Wow, so cool.
And oddly enough, I was going to open it in 2020, but COVID was not the best time for a retail business. 3 years later, I had the opportunity present itself again. The world works in mysterious ways. And there I go. I had the opportunity to buy Solving Skate Shop, and I decided that, hey, I'm gonna build something for myself. All the knowledge that I got from just kind of being the fly in the room, watching the Braille team, now I get to kind of create my own Braille team, so to say.
Yeah,
and,
awesome.
I mean, that was just another turning point in what I get to give back to skateboarding.
Right.
You know, it's not about what skateboarding gives me.
That's right.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, skateboarding gives me this amazing feeling. It's about what I'm going to give back to the next generation of skateboard. How am I helping the next generation of skateboarding be better than me? Maybe, you know, if we could remove all of that, like, problematic stuff and just be very positive. Like, I have kids come up to me all the time that ask me to, like, how do I kickflip?
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
right.
And, like, I remember asking my neighbor how to kickflip. He's like, get out of here, Robbie. I learned on my own, you know? And
yeah, I know. That's how the mentality used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be like, nobody's going to help you. You have to figure it out on your own. And if you can't, I just think that hurts the overall growth of skateboarding so much.
Yeah, I mean, owning a skate shop now, and you know, it's not the 10-year veteran who's coming into the shop all the time. It's the kid that doesn't know how to skate. You know, my shop's in a tourist town. Sometimes I get somebody who's never been into a skate shop, and I get to curate that very first experience.
Right.
And so if I do that with, like, oh, you know, like, skateboarding's like this and it's like that.
You're a
like,
poser if you hold your trucks like this.
Yeah, like, hey, you know what? Show me the rule book and I'll say you're right. But there's no rule book in skateboarding.
That's right.
There's no rules. Like, how come you can push Mongo switch, but you can't push Mongo regular?
And now
Why
they
is
don't
that?
even let you push Mongo switch.
Well,
They're calling you out for everything.
I'm glad I pushed Mongo when I first started skating, because now I can push switch really well.
Yeah.
You know, I have students, they push Mongo, and they ask me, and I'm like, hey, whatever feels comfortable to you, man.
Yeah.
You know, and then just having people maybe walk by my store, and I'm like, hey, come on in. Like, oh, no, we don't skate. I'm like, that's okay. I'm not, you know, I'm not really here to sell you anything. I'm here sharing my love and passion to skateboarding.
Yeah.
You know, and then they come in, and I give them some markers. I tell them to sign my wall. So I got graffiti all over the place. And
Nice.
It's a nice tie into the kind of skateboarding, like, art value. But yeah, man, it's been really cool. I've owned the skate shop for 2 years now.
Wow.
There was a year where I was trying to manage the shop, or run the business and run the skate lessons at Braille, and oh my, I'm
so hard.
That would have definitely probably killed me.
Yeah.
I was
You gotta
definitely
take care of yourself.
I was definitely not taking the best, you know, it's like, obviously I made these changes for my social life, you know, getting rid of like the substance abuse and alcohol abuse. But then now it's like, what about the self-care? Like, putting myself first, putting my health first. What we put into our body, man, what we put into our machine, you know, that's how the machine operates. And, you know, that's just something in February this year, I've finally been able to, like, I'm going to the gym pretty regularly. I'm eating healthy. Shout out Manny Santiago. That dude, he
amazing.
Just opened my mind to, like, the possibilities, just cold plunge, man. That is so good. Like, just, it shocks your nervous system.
What do? Work out and then cold plunge?
Yeah, so workout, a cold plunge. I'm currently working on getting my cold plunge. So right now it's just shower or ocean. You know, the ocean is cold, and it's not. Ideally, we want a little bit colder to really shock the body.
Yeah.
But when you shock your nervous system, it goes into fight or flight, and whatever toxins in your body tends to, you know, it's being pushed out. Your body's like, we're going to the bare minimum of what we need to survive. Like, it's so powerful. And then, like, the people that you surround yourself with the things that you let affect you, right? You know, because I can't go out into the world and expect the world to meet me where I'm at. I have to go out and meet the world where they're at, you know. And
and provide some value and give back.
And so that's something I learned through teaching. Is I can't expect the kid who's never stood on a skateboard before to understand where I'm coming from on a skateboard. I have to meet him at his level.
That's right.
You know, that's it, man. But that also just brings back the pure love and joy of skateboarding. You know, it brings me right back to that 9-year-old Robby.
Exactly.
So,
I know.
Yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Can you talk about your nonprofit that you're starting? Are you allowed to talk about that, or?
You know what? I mean, I'm gonna say yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna do it because I think this is a great platform to bring awareness to it. My nonprofit is called Skating for Hope, and I'm in affiliation with Surfing for Hope. Our mission is very much the same. Their platform that they use is surfing. My platform is skateboarding. I'm working with cancer patients, kids who are affected by family members with cancer, and I'm using skateboarding as a platform to give them hope. We just had our pilot program. I had 8 kids. We had a translator. We had a doctor out there as well. Doctors are actually a part of the nonprofit. They're an oncologist. But yeah, we provided skateboards and equipment for the kids. They got to keep the skateboards. None of them have skated before in their life.
Wow.
At the end of the 3-week program, like they were carving around bowls.
And you were teaching them. You were giving them a lesson.
I was giving them a lesson, 3 hours for 3 Saturdays in a row.
Wow.
And I can tell you that there's 8 more skateboarders in the world.
That is so cool.
Yeah, and so that was the pilot program. I am going to be speaking to the gala in Pismo Beach to start doing fundraising. And I know that right now this is mainly a San Luis Obispo County nonprofit, but my dream is to extend it into Southern or Santa Barbara County. But then, you know, I'm dreaming big, man. So I want it to be a global initiative where skateboarding gives cancer patients hope.
I love it.
You know, if you think back to Lords of Dogtown Z-Boys, what did they do with Sid? They took him into the bowl in his wheelchair when he had cancer. And like, that is something I had an opportunity to do with a friend of mine that passed away from cancer. Ben Questenberry. He had a mini ramp in his backyard, and you know, I just encouraged, you know, his parents to let me take him out there and just wheel him back and forth. And that's just something, it's something whether or not he could actively do it, he just, that feeling of going up the transition, just, that's
meaningful.
It just hits you in your core, man. And none of the kids that I was working with are dealing with cancer themselves, but their parents are, grandparents, and then some of their friends.
Oh, wow.
So
it's an avenue to get their attention off of all that they're going through.
Absolutely, yeah. And so for me, once I brought my attention back to skateboarding, it was an avenue for me to get my attention off of like the drugs and alcohol.
That's right.
So I just encourage anybody out there who's going through alcohol abuse, substance abuse, ask for help, man. Reach out there, because there's so many people that are dealing with it. You don't have to go through it alone. And find something that kind of brings you back to that childlike mindset. Because that is priceless. To be a child is once in a life time, but to be childlike is priceless. That's the goal.
That's right.
You know, skate for as long as you can, you know, and don't worry about doing the tricks, man. Just ride, you know.
Just ride and have fun.
Yeah, you know, people doing tricks are showing off. You know, I have a couple newspaper articles. So this is basically, right after I bought the skate shop, I went to Tampa Pro.
Yeah, you didn't even tell Tampa Pro's story.
Oh, man, there's too many stories. I have so many. Yeah, I mean, I could go down the Tampa Pro story. This was kind of a trip. I always wanted to compete. Yeah, I mean, I've been competing since I was a young kid. Castle, California Amateur Skate League. State champion in 2004.
Nice.
That was like the biggest contest I ever won. I was 16 at the time. Like, so I mean, that could kind of be like, oh man, this guy's going somewhere. You know. But then I get to this point where I buy the shop, and now I'm like really pursuing sharing skateboarding, but I want to keep pursuing my own skateboarding. So I'm like, I'm gonna register for the team manager VIP contest at Tampa Pro. I show up and they're like, you're not on the list. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, I own a skate shop. I'm part of the skate industry.
Yeah.
I should be in this.
Wow, you just talk your way in.
I talked my way in. I did go there with Andy. That might have helped a little bit,
Yes.
you know. But I talked my way in. They let me in. And then I ended up getting first place. I won the contest.
So cool.
And so I later on got interviewed by the local newspaper at home. And I told them the reason I won was because I had the most fun.
So true.
So this just talks about me writing my intention on the back of a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then on the other side of that paper, I wrote my run.
Yeah.
And right before they called my name in both runs, I said, hold on, I'm not ready yet. And I took the paper out and I looked at my run, made sure I had it in my head, and then I flipped it over to my intention.
Yeah.
And so my intention was to have the most fun.
Yes.
And because I think I brought everything back to my intention, what was my direct intention of being there was to have the most fun, not win the contest, but in turn I won the contest because I had the most fun and I had my run planned.
Well, I love it.
It just seems like everything keeps kind of happening that's benefiting me, and when you're living righteously for yourself first and then outwardly for other people second. That's April 13th.
Yeah.
Andy Anderson's birthday.
Nice.
Later on in the year, I had another article come out.
First ever Solvang Skate Jam.
So this was actually the first one. This one came out before I bought the skate shop.
First ever Solvang Skate Jam.
So this was after I started working at Braille. I was working with the owner of Solvang Skate Shop, and I told him like, yo dude, you gotta do events. Like, skate shops are only work in active skate communities. Like,
yeah.
We did this cool skate event. You got George Camp, he was a student of mine at Braille. He came down.
So cool.
Maddox Hazard, he's a local Solvang skater. And then, of course, we all know who this half-shirt guy is. That's Christopher Hyatt.
Let's go, Christopher
Yeah,
Hyatt.
he made it into the newspaper in Solvang. You know, I wanted to bring a contest and kind of showcase skateboarding in Solvang, which is top 5 tourist destinations in the country.
Wow.
I got an article about, a lot about what we talked about, skating through adversity.
Yes.
Adversity from above or adversity from within.
That's right.
So, here we go. This was last year I put on the contest in December. We had about 250 people showed up, and I figured since I had a captive audience, let's bring some light to it. So I had everybody get together in the parking lot before the event, and everybody's like, what? I'm like, come on, get down here. Like,
yeah.
I got everyone to pose for a giant group photo, and now it's a thing. Every contest I do,
cool.
Everybody knows. So we just had another contest in August, and we had about 300 people in attendance. We had vendors. I closed the parking lot. I bring in a mini ramp. I have Walt's freestyle team come up and do a freestyle demo.
Wow.
So it's so cool to be in this position now, like where I'm doing something outside of myself for skateboarding.
Right.
And then I'm shedding light on avenue of skateboarding that's almost forgotten about, which is freestyle.
Yes.
And then I have this shop that's super friendly environment, similar to what Braille was. You know, it doesn't matter where you are or where you're from, but you can skate too. Kind of being in this position to like help others find skateboarding, and then in turn, like, skateboarding's giving me these blessings that I couldn't imagine.
Right.
You know, and I would imagine they're only going to keep like growing and doubling and getting better and bigger, and I don't know where it leads, but I'm excited, man. I'm super honored to be in this position. I'm super honored to, you know, have a chance to sit down and talk with you and give you thanks. You know, gratitude's super important.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I also want you to highlight a little bit like what a skate shop, because they're local pillars for the skate community. They help skateboarding grow.
Man.
Like how important is like actual skate shops?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, skate shops are we're the brick and mortar of skateboarding. We're in the community. We're the ones who are working with maybe the troubled teenager who's having some problems at home with his parents or his brother and sister, or maybe since I've gone through some drug and alcohol abuse problems, maybe I can see that in some other kids, and maybe I can intervene.
Yeah, and help
them.
them.
And maybe I can help them.
Yeah.
And so the skate shop isn't necessarily for your 10-year veteran skateboarder.
Right.
It's literally for everybody. I have homeless people that come into my store, and they just need me to just love them.
Yeah.
And just to give them hope, to talk to them, to hear them, to give them maybe an insight that they're not getting from their own mind or from the people around them.
Right.
I also, I have young kids who maybe want to learn how to skateboard and are looking for a job.
Right.
And I'm not afraid to hire that person.
Right.
Because that's one more for skateboarding, right? We get one more skateboarder, I get an employee. We use the skate shop as an avenue for helping other people or building my community.
So how can they help support Solvang? How can they help support you, the nonprofit? There's so much cool things that you're doing.
First of all, if you guys want to support the skate shop, the best way you could do that is stop into Solvang, come see me. That's the best way, in person always. The other way you could do it, follow us on social media, Solvang Skate Shop on YouTube, on Instagram, solvingskateshop.com. I'm working on building the website up to do more online sales. That's just another avenue of the skate shop. But yeah, going online, buy a t-shirt, buy a board. I should have the boards online here pretty soon, but you could always shoot me a message. I would love to send you guys a board. I'll sign it up for you. But yeah, I mean, the best way to support a skate shop is go to the actual skate shop.
Let's go,
That's
guys.
It. So,
well, thank you for everything you do for skateboarding.
Thank you so
for
much.
Everything you've done. And thank you for sharing your story. I think it's really, really important.
Yeah, I think, this might be one of the first times I've shared my story to this level in a setting like this. It's been something I've really wanted to do for a long time. I don't know if I was ready. It's
hard, I know.
Yeah, because you're afraid of the judgment. And at the end of the day, like, no one's gonna judge me harder than I judge myself.
That's right.
But now that I understand myself a little bit better and the qualities that I have are, and the trials are actually, they're tools that I get to use through, in the world now.
That's right.
So I appreciate you, man. Thanks for giving me the platform and giving me, the courage to pursue my dreams.
You're
I
very
really
welcome.
appreciate it.
Well, thanks for everything you do again.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Robby.
Thanks, Aaron. Cool, man.
All right, that was awesome.
You.